Peace, family. It's good to be back. Let's get straight to work. Today, we want to talk about how Nike finessed the black community. Now, I know this may be a difficult conversation for some of you, but it's one that we most definitely have to have. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that history is best qualified to reward our research. This means that if we don't look at the mistakes of the past, we will continue to make those same mistakes in the future. And there is no way we can create a bright future for our community if we're continuing to stumble over the same mistakes of the past. Now let's talk Nike. Recently, a headline came out that stated that Nike's overall value has been boosted by $6 billion since they announced their alliance and their sponsorship of Colin Kaepernick. And as you know, Colin Kaepernick has literally become the poster child for activist athletes who stand up against injustice, particularly issues surrounding police brutality and police misconduct. Colin took a knee and was literally whiteballed from the NFL and not given an opportunity to use his gifts and his talents to continue to play football. Well, Nike, who back in 2015, there was a hashtag out saying boycott Nike. And that hashtag was there because in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement, Nike had declared a certain day Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And activists who fought for Mike Brown, who fought for Eric Garner and Sandra Bland and others, thought it to be a slap in the face that Nike would host a Law Enforcement Appreciation Day while we were out here fighting against police brutality. Well, Nike learned his lesson. And what they did is they began to do their market studies. And they came to the conclusion that it is better to co-opt a movement than it is to fight against a movement. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee in the NFL, as hated as he may have been, Colin Kaepernick still had the #1 selling jersey in the National Football League. And even after Colin was whiteballed from the league and owners colluded to make certain that he could never get a job again, they were still selling Colin Kaepernick's jersey even though he wasn't playing in the league, and it was still a top seller. They may not like Colin Kaepernick's views, but no one could deny his following. Nobody could deny the fact that Colin Kaepernick had penetrated the hearts and the minds of people, not just here in America, but millions of people around the globe. So Nike pulled a stunt. They said, instead of fighting against Colin Kaepernick, we want to co-opt the movement and in the process increase our profits by capitalizing on his following. Colin Kaepernick was the perfect guy for them to sign for their Just Do It campaign. I think it was the 30th anniversary or something like that. He was perfect for it. And Nike executives, I'm pretty sure they sat down in a war room and they haggled over whether or not this was a good decision. And they started calculating whether or not this would be a move forward or backwards. They calculated your and my responses, and they probably had a book this thick that told them exactly what to do if you responded this way or that way. The point that I'm making is this was a well-calculated chess move to sign Colin Kaepernick. And even though he'd been banned from the NFL and Nike has a contract with the NFL, if Colin Kaepernick's commercial that they put out was going to be aired during the opening of the first NFL game, well, when Colin Kaepernick's followers tuned in to look at that commercial, what would they be doing? They would be watching the NFL again. So two birds were being killed with one stone. And unfortunately, as a people, we fell right into the trap. Now let's talk Nike. When you look at the little swoosh symbol and the term Nike, Nike was the Greek goddess of victory. And that is a fitting name for that company because at the end of the day, the only thing Nike is concerned about is winning. They don't give a damn about police brutality. They don't give a damn about how wide the wealth gap is in this country. They don't give a damn about the school to prison pipeline. This is a company that has had no moral compass whatsoever, but all of a sudden we're holding them up as some paragon of virtue as if though they really give a damn about the black struggle. Nike is a scumbucket company who capitalizes off of cheap labor in poor nations. They go to poverty-stricken countries and they open up these sweatshops. And they have women who are mothers and men who are fathers to work for, 10, 12 cents an hour or something crazy like that. So much so to where they can't even maintain a decent lifestyle to feed their children. The people who make Nike in China, they may make a pair of Air Jordans, but the Air Jordans are worth more than they get paid a month. That is the real Nike. Not only do they do it abroad, but Nike makes billions of dollars off of prison labor every single year. So that means that your family member, your community member, that person that you know who may have gotten caught up in criminal activity and ends up a victim of mass incarceration, they could very well go to prison and work for Nike for free. Nike makes no qualms about using prison labor. When I worked with a dear sister by the name of Daisy Williams, whose son was murdered for a pair of Air Jordan sneakers, we dealt with Nike on that issue. I've dealt with them personally. And though Nike was not responsible for the death of Joshua Woods, the young black teenagers who murdered him were responsible, and they were held responsible. 2 of them got life sentences. 1 of them got 40 years, and the 4th got 25 years. But it was Nike who creates the frenzy for these sneakers. And they release a small amount into a population where everybody wants them. You would think that a decent company who cares anything about corporate responsibility would change the way that they distribute these sneakers. And this is the appeal that this crying mother made to Nike as a company. She was only saying, instead of releasing a select few number on a given day where you have these lines all the way around the store, just release them online or release enough of them so everybody can get them. But no, Nike loved the free publicity that it got when there were riots in the mall over these Air Jordan sneakers when they came out. So they didn't listen to that woman. They didn't give a damn that her son had gotten murdered. I dealt with them personally. All they gave her was lip service. And Michael Jordan himself called our sister. And none of them followed up on their promises because they didn't give a damn then, and they don't give a damn now. Now, $6 billion in value that Nike has gained since it signed Colin Kaepernick. Do you think that's by accident? No, that is by design. I want you to listen very closely to what I'm about to say. Okay, how much was the deal that they made with Kaepernick? I think it may have been $40 million or something of that nature. Y'all could look it up and put it in the comment section. But do you know that the moment that Colin Kaepernick shared the first poster from that banner of him and his afro and the Nike check saying, "Just do it," the same one that's in Times Square, from the moment that he shared that on his social media pages, the people who support Colin got so heavily behind that campaign that it is calculated that Nike got $163 million in free advertisement just from your retweets and shares. $163 million. So they made that money back that they paid Colin, 4 times? Just on your retweets. I want you to think about that. So anybody that says that Nike took a risk by signing Colin Kaepernick does not know business and does not understand psychology. Let's take it a little bit further. Once they signed Colin, and white people who hated Colin Kaepernick were so angry that they went outside their trailer parks, yeah, I said it, trailer parks, and set their Nikes on fire, then black people felt that just because Nike is a company that white people hate right now, that we have to do what we can to strengthen and empower Nike, a corporation that has historically exploited black culture and given nothing back to us. We felt like we had to go out and empower Nike instead of sitting back and letting white folk fight white folk the way white folks sit back and let black folk fight black folk. You should have just let those white people have their day with Nike, sit back and continue to support Colin Kaepernick. Now, it's very important that I make this point. Supporting Colin Kaepernick and supporting Nike is not the same thing. It's not the same thing, okay? That same money that you used to go and purchase Nike because you were so grateful for what they did for Colin, okay? And let me say that you were probably on your way to Foot Locker to support, to buy them Nikes anyway. All right, let me say that. But you could have taken that same money and gone to www.knowyourrightscamp.org, I think that's Colin's website, and just donated it straight to him and his vision. Oh, my Lord, my God, my people. My people. Nike could turn on Colin Kaepernick tomorrow and use the money that you put into their corporation to do it. It's chess. This ain't checkers. And I don't understand, why is it that we feel like we owed Nike something? Don't you know that it is black culture that made Nike rich? From the time rap artists started wearing Nike sweatsuits and wearing Nike shoes, and it spread like wildfire throughout the culture, they said, See, in marketing, it's called the cool factor. Somebody can wear your clothing and make it cool to the masses, and you could literally corner the market because an individual wears your clothes. Well, black youth control the culture, not just in America, but around the world. If you go to China, you'll see young Chinese dressed like black youth. If you go to Africa, you see young black African dressed in hip hop gear like black youth. You can go to Russia. Whatever it is that young black people in America decide is going to be the thing, then it takes off all around the world. So you did not owe Nike anything. Black people is what we've made Nike what it is today. If anything, they owe you. But you know what the problem is, brothers and sisters? As a people, we are addicted to white approval. And when you saw Colin Kaepernick on a Nike billboard, your subconscious mind said we were right all along for supporting Colin Kaepernick. Even Nike supports Colin. Nike is progressive. The NFL needs to listen to Nike. Nike don't give a damn about you. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. And this is not something that has not been said on this channel before. As a matter of fact, this is something that is said on this channel every day. All we got is us. All we got is us. And Nike does not belong to us. How Nike finessed the black community. Now let's talk about Colin Kaepernick. Because I do believe that it is Nike's ambition to use Colin Kaepernick as a tool to co-opt the movement and deceive black people. Somebody said to me that if Nike is guilty of running a sham on us, then Colin Kaepernick is guilty as well. I disagree. Colin Kaepernick and Nike don't come as a package deal. Nike is someone that Colin Kaepernick is doing business with. And Colin Kaepernick has a right to do business with his brand. He has a right to do that. Colin Kaepernick, at this point, at the point of the time of the recording of this video, has earned my respect, and he has earned the right for me to give him the benefit of the doubt. See, one thing about Colin Kaepernick is nobody can deny that when he does business with these major corporations, he gives back to the black community. He gives back to black causes. So I don't begrudge Colin for doing business with Nike as long as Colin understands that it is business. Colin Kaepernick never told you to go out and buy extra Nike sneakers. He didn't do that. You did that on your own, thinking you were supporting him. Colin didn't tell you to go and invest in Nike stock, which is a much smarter thing to do than just buying, sneakers, because that's what consumers do. Consumers buy sneakers. Investors buy stock. So if you bought stock and you win with that stock, then I salute you. More power to you. But we got to find a better way to do this, brothers and sisters. So at the end of the day, if something happens within the culture and you are inspired to empower a company with your money, make sure that that company is one that we own and one that we control. And stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe, seeking white approval for that which you know is already true and good for our people. You don't have to go out and buy new Nikes in order to show your support for Colin Kaepernick. support the brother directly. And the more you empower and support him, the more you empower and support those that Colin Kaepernick took a knee for. So Colin has not sold out. This is a man who right now is suing the National Football League's owners. These old billionaires are going to have to come into court and swear under oath to tell the truth that they did not collude to keep him out of the NFL. You ain't never even seen nothing like that before. And Colin Kaepernick made a big sacrifice when he took a knee for the cause. So if he could recoup some of what he lost by doing this deal with Nike, more power to him. As long as he knows that these people cannot be trusted any more than those crooked police officers who shoot our people down in the street. So the lesson that we must learn, so that we do not make this same mistake in history, because other companies are looking at what Nike did. And before you know it, these major corporations are going to start coming after other activist types, other athletes, other entertainers who have an activist leaning and taking advantage of the following that they've gained through their activism, and they're going to start co-opting the movement. Imagine seeing the Black Revolution brought to you by McDonald's. Liberation for all the masses of the people, brought to you by Coca-Cola. Listen, in their eyes, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. Nike knew that when they signed Colin Kaepernick to this big deal and put his face on their brand, not only was it going to make dollars, it was going to make sense. And at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick didn't really need Nike. Another reason that they signed Colin Kaepernick is because Colin Kaepernick acted as a bleaching agent for their brand. As long as you could see that big sign with Cap's face on it in Times Square, it made you forget about the fact that they're still using prison labor. It made you forget about the fact that they're still employing people in other countries for less than $1 a day. They made you forget about the fact that Nike doesn't really do anything for the Black community. And when you look at what we've contributed to Nike and what they've contributed back, they owe you. You don't owe them, because you've used the power of your dollar for years to make Nike strong. So that being said, my brothers and sisters, be careful who you pledge allegiance to. Colin Kaepernick did not take a knee in protest to the American flag or to the national anthem for us to get up and pledge our allegiance to Nike. Your allegiance must be to your own Black self. Again, at the end of the day, all we got is us. And it does not matter what company signs what Black face or what Black or whatever Black voice. It does not matter who signs with who. It does not matter if some corporation looks as if though they are approving what it is that we're fighting for. One thing will never change, and that is all we got is us. Peace.